pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening and thank you for coming. First thing I'd like to do is introduce my board. Greg Hicks, I got Steve Southwick, John Paul Tatro, Julie Castine is our town clerk, Bill Favreau is our town attorney. I got a Junior, Jeff,
and Jeff Moore.
Oh, excuse me, yeah, I got Jeff.
Mayor of the Village of Champlain, Trustee Kim Trombley, and Trustee Greg Martin.
Thank you. The public hearing tonight is on a petition that was presented to us to annex the school, Northeastern School, into the Village of Champlain. I'm going to ask Peter Turner to address the issue first, and anyone in the audience can address us. Peter?
Do we stand for the camera here?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the Village and Town Boards. I'm Peter Turner, the Superintendent of Schools for Northeastern Clinton Central School. I'm here this evening to speak in support of our request for annexation. The school district is constantly looking for ways to run our operation more efficiently. The annexation of our property into the village gives us the opportunity to benefit from reduced water and sewer rates. The high school and middle school complex was formerly on a well system. I am told the water was of high quality and plentiful. Unfortunately, our storage tank developed a leak which required the district to replace the tank. On November 19th, 2004, the Board of Education authorized an emergency project to connect to the village water supply instead of replacing the tank. The project cost the district taxpayers $803,391.28, despite the original estimate of $314,400. This ad-lib, that was because of running into a fuel tank and running into rock trying to dig the water line. The cost escalated due to underground tank, soil contamination, and bedrock found during the project. The district did receive state aid reimbursement on a portion of these expenditures. Regardless, this was an expense to state and local taxpayers. The original cost to replace the water tank was $233,700, while required more monitoring of water quality due to changes in health department regulations for a new system. This water line benefits the village, town, and school district. The school district was able to get out of the water business and focus upon education. The village of Champlain gained a larger water customer. The town benefited with the installation of fire hydrants, which is an asset once the water pressure is increased. The district installed a 12-inch pipe, which is bigger than needed, and this could benefit any future expansion of the water delivery system in the town. The district truly appreciates the village water supply. The town, village, and school district taxpayers are the same. Any reduction in the water costs benefits district taxpayers and provides some relief to the other three towns in our taxing jurisdiction. The Northeastern Clinton School Board of Education respectfully asks for favorable consideration of this annexation request. The school district recognizes this annexation will be a revenue loss for the village in both water and sewer rates. During the 2005-06 school year, the district paid $40,726.11 and $35,253.28 in the 06-07 school year. However, the village did benefit when the school district decided to become a water customer, and prior to that, a sewer customer. As I stated earlier, our goal is to run the school district in an efficient, cost-effective manner. Lower water and sewer rates benefit all the taxpayers in the Northeastern Clinton Central School. The school district appreciates the time and consideration that you are giving to this request.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience have any opinions, concerns, or questions they'd like to ask? Yes.
If the rates are reduced for the village and the town goes off with selling the water, how is that going to affect the water rates for the people that remain in the town?
I do not have an answer to that question. The village might be able to answer that better.
we the town buy water now for approximately 50, 60 customers from the village. We have no choice in that matter because we have no source of our own water. I don't see it anything but increasing it. I don't see it decreasing, but there's something I don't know. I'm not aware of that. But go ahead.
Nobody knows
Yeah,
about.
yes, you do know.
Okay.
It would cause the rates to go up for all the other customers, yes.
Okay.
I can't give you an exact number, but it would cause it to increase, yes.
So that's not really benefiting the taxes, payers too much that are on the water system.
You're right. In the town, they would, our rates would be higher. You live, I assume you live in the town now. Down Champlain. I'm assuming that money has to be made up somewhere. I think the village has anything to talk about that. Your
Yes,
water-
it would, Larry, there's no doubt.
It takes so much money to run the water and sewer plants, and it's going to be spread amongst the users. Bang, you got a question?
How is this going to increase the village of Champlain?
Jeff?
I'm not sure I understand your
Well,
question.
is it going to be any more of a cost to the village of Champlain for this change, if it happens?
Could.
It could.
Why?
Why? I think Larry already answered that question. You know, it costs so much to make the water, it costs so much for the sewer system. How you divide that cost, if the school's to be annexed in, it would increase everybody else's share. Like if you pay less, somebody else has to pay more. The cost of running the plant, both the water and wastewater, is it's not going to change. Who pays it would be the only thing that would change. I'm not sure that's what you wanted to know.
Is the
though.
school the only entity that is on, that's rented through the town? Is there any other business or anything else that are in a like position as the school is?
Yes.
Well, any property that borders on the village, it could be annexed, potentially.
But they're not a town customer. The school's not a town customer.
They are now, aren't they?
No, they're not.
No,
They're what they call an outside user. Am I correct, Jeff?
Yes, they
The U.S.
buy
Customs.
directly.
The U.S. Customs is also an outside user. Am I
Correct.
Am I correct? Okay.
They buy directly from the village.
And there's a couple.
Who
of
buys directly from the village?
The school does and the border.
So then why are they looking for annexation into the village?
Because the village charges higher rates for outside users than they do their own customers.
So the town isn't involved at all?
We do
Yes.
that.
Yes, they are. The rates are set by the village, and the people in the village pay the village rates. The people in the town districts pay the town district rates, which are set every year at budget time.
Our town users, we have several water districts, okay? We pay approximately 250% of the village rate for our town customers. That's mostly on Route 11, Ridge Road, Perry's Mill Road. Somehow within the law, I can't, Jeff, can I explain this, or Bill, they're allowed to take what they call outside users. And the border has been one for years, many years, I don't know how many years. Now the school got onto that as an outside user. Our customers within the town are billed through the town. The village bills us, we reimburse the village. We collect it and we reimburse the village. The outside users, the school, the custom house on the border, they're billed directly. We do not handle those at all. Okay? They're an outside user. If the annexation was to take place, they would have to give the school village rates. Am I correct, Jeff?
You're correct.
Okay? That is what the petition is about. Annex into the village to get cheaper water rates. That's no secret. Okay, that's,
Is there anybody else along that line can then, after this, if it happens, can ask for the same thing?
yes. Anything bordering that
So it'd be pretty hard, to if you annex the school,
Yes.
then it'd be pretty hard to say no to anybody else that wants annexation.
Well,
Or are they not under the same language as the school when it comes to furnishing water and sewage?
Bill,
Annexation, the standard for annexation under general municipal law is what's in the overall public interest. Generally, what you're looking at is things like services, for instance, that the village could supply that can't be supplied by the town. Perhaps police protection, fire. A lot of the things that don't really apply to this. What these boards need to determine is it in the overall public interest to allow this annexation when the sole purpose appears to be cheaper sewer and cheaper water rates. I think some of the cases under general municipal law and annexation do not really deal with just because you want cheaper rates allow, or that's in the overall public interest to allow annexation. Again, it's better police protection perhaps. They have the water and sewer service. If they didn't have it and couldn't get it unless they became or were annexed by the village, then that might be a good basis for it in the overall public interest. Sometimes a change in public education, which certainly doesn't apply here, but you want to be annexed to this other jurisdiction because they have better schools. Things like that are what these boards need to determine and whether or not they should approve this annexation.
Who maintains the lines down to school? The village?
I would assume the school should. It's up to wherever it ties into the village system. I would assume that's the way it should be set up. Sure.
And is that going to stay the same?
No. If
Then the village takes over and maintains them?
the annexation would, the village would then own all of those lines and be responsible for maintaining them.
so anybody that taps into those lines would be paying the village for it?
If they were within that, within the village, certainly. Yes.
But they're not annexing everything around that school, just the school.
the school property, which already abuts up to the village line.
Yeah, but if there's other areas that are developable, that you can develop later on, will that be affected by the same way? Will they have
They have the right to ask for annexation, I think.
Well, they could always apply, sure.
Anybody can apply, be annexed into the village.
Basically, the school owns all the property, to the west side of Route 276 and south of Prospect Road, correct? And that's the chunk of land that they're seeking to be annexed to the village.
If it did not border onto village property now, we wouldn't be here this evening. They could not annex. But since they do way down the Falkhead Drive, I believe that's where they,
Well, we haven't gotten that far. There would need to be a survey to determine that. The only thing we've looked at so far is like a tax map, which is not a valid map to be used for actual bounds. So that would have to be determined if we proceeded.
Randy, I believe you had a comment.
If, just for point of clarification, the individuals that you're selling the water to, or you're buying, the town's buying the water for on the
Yes.
Ridge Road
Yes,
and Paris Mills, are they getting the annexed rates?
no.
They're not?
They are a town district.
Mhm.
We, the town, do not supply the water. We buy the water from the village of Champlain.
Right.
We own those lines. Those districts own those lines. The village does not. Okay? We buy water to pressurize those lines. And we are charged according to what they use, and we rebill the people. The money we collect for those users, from those users, we are billed from the village, and we reimburse the village. That rate is already 2.5 times as high as the village uses, okay? Now, there is a difference. I haven't got it from me, I can get it very easily. There's a commercial rate, Jeff, if I'm correct?
Yes.
There's a commercial rate and a residential rate, okay? And there's an outside user rate, which we do not get involved in, we the town. Outside users is like an independent contract with the village. The government has one at the border, the school has one now, they're an outside user. Okay?
Can I just add one?
Those properties are not annexed.
Okay.
The districts you're referencing are still within the town, they're not annexed as part of the village.
All right. If I could just make a comment.
Yes.
Something that you said, Jeff, was that it is very costly to make the water, provide the water, and for us to get the sewer. However, those costs do affect the operations of our district in a larger area than just the village of Champlain. It affects Altona, Moores, so that there is going to offer us, by having this annexation, is going to offer us a better rate, so we can pass that on. That's.
I understand the theory behind that.
But that's for point of clarification. What I'm saying, it's going to affect our district is a little bigger than just this village.
Your school district is 10 times as big as our water districts,
Right.
geographically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're absolutely right. You save whatever we would save, if it's half, you'd save $20,000 over 20 miles. I mean, it goes a long ways. The school district does. Really,
All the way to Cannons.
Right? Close, not 20, but close to it.
What's that gonna break out to in school tax, though, $20,000 over what, $20 million budget?
Gonna have a bigger impact on the taxpayers in the village of Champlain than it will.
Exactly,
Yeah.
people that are gonna end up paying those higher water rates.
And the town's gonna pay.
Yes, Jim?
Maybe I can, this might be relevant or not, but maybe I can shed a little light. I know all the board that's here was not involved in this project when we started it from the beginning. Back in November, when we had our water leak, we sat down with Albert Laporte and Bob Hebert and myself, and at that point, we looked at both projects. To change our 10,000 gallon water tank at the school was right around $230,000. And in order to, we had a rough estimate to tie on to village water, which was just about the same amount of cost. It was just a little bit more, but they were, let's just say for now, that they were pretty much the same cost. So at that point, we knew what our water and sewer was gonna be if we tied on to the village. So we sat down with Albert and also Bob Sullivan and asked them, we checked into it and found out that our land did border the village. And we asked them if they would annex us into the village, and so that we could get a cheaper rate. Because at that point, if we didn't get a cheaper rate on our water and sewer, then that meant for as long as we were there as Northeastern Clinton Central School, we were going to pay the high rate for water and sewer. And at that point, it would have been cheaper for us to go back to our 10,000 gallon tank, put it back in the ground, pump our own water into it. But because we were promised by the village at that point, and again, nothing was in writing. I mean, we were gentlemen, sitting here and talking amongst each other. And of course, I realize the mayors have changed and things have passed. But at that point, when the decision was made, we were told that we could annex into the village. And we used that as a basis of bringing the water line and hooking up to the village, rather than putting our own water tank back in the way that we had previously. So that's how this got started, and I think that's why we're here tonight, because we're just pursuing what was brought forth, back in '05. And again, I know boards have changed and mayors have changed, but originally that's what was promised to the school. And how the board looked at it is, as long as we can annex with the village, that's gonna keep our costs down. It's gonna bring us water and sewer for a little bit more than what we're paying for our sewer right now, but we put some numbers together and we justified tying on to the village at that time. And also, there was also talk about extending the tower down there so that we would have fire protection at some point in time. And also, there was talk of tying Gemlaw Road people on because their water down there was not in very good shape. So that's kind of how this all come about, and that's how Northeastern Clinton made their decision to tie on to village water rather than go back to their own water tank. I don't know if that helps anybody, but.
I was a town councilman when some of this, not supervisor. I do remember on Denlaw Road, at the intersection, they put a T in the road, in the plate.
That's it.
If I'm correct.
We come and ask the town what
For
they would like
future
there at that time, yes.
Possible development later, okay?
Right.
I just don't know. What we see tonight.
And again, I mean, we were trying to do all we could to try to help village and town and everybody around. I mean, we weren't trying to get free water. It did cost us quite a bit of money. We did put a bigger main in. We went and talked to the village of Champlain, Again, we sat down with Albert, we sat down with Bob and said, you know, what would you like us to put for a main up through there? We were originally gonna put an 8-inch main up through there because we were told that was gonna be more than enough water to take care of whatever we were gonna do with the school, and also put our bus garage down at the bottom of the hill. And Bob said at that time, well, it would be nice if you would bring a 12-inch main up through there. That way we would be sure, you know, depending on how many people on the Gemlau Road did tie into it or whatever.
This was 2005.
Yes.
In 2005, why didn't they petition then? Why did they wait 2 years to?
Well, they started it, our project was just going. It has been in the works for quite a while since Bob Hebert was there. I don't know why he dropped the ball on it, that I can't tell you. Again, I wasn't involved in it because I'm not, you know, that was his ball, but.
I got some records here, go back to last April when Bob first broached the subject.
Yeah, he was reminded repeatedly that we needed to get going with this because it was, each year we lost it. You know, we didn't get annexed, we were losing money for the school. But it was just, you know how things drag out and time goes by, that it was something that just was never done at that time.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
Barkle?
Yes.
You do realize that is our second petition that we have put into you, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, I got one last April, I believe it was. It wasn't timely right or something, we went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and we did it over. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. We did not, I'm just wondering why it wasn't started in 2005 when they started their talking. That line went in rather quickly, if I remember right, rather 2 or 3
Yeah, because our
months.
10,000 gallon tank had a hole in it, so,
Yeah.
you know, we had to do something. We
It's
either
like
had to replace the
emergency,
tank or, right, tie on the water.
Yeah. The state ed department approved it real quick, like,
Yes,
got approved.
very much so.
Does anyone else have any questions or concerns? Go ahead,
Can I just make one more?
no problem.
I'm sure before you make your decision that if you would please consider the effect that this is going to have on the individual taxpayers. If you could break it right down to each resident who pays taxes and really the amount versus the entire district of what we're paying, how it will save the district money. I know somebody's going to have to absorb a little bit of cost, but if we just figure out the increases.
I understand.
Thank you.
You know, we're gonna be talking 3,000 or 4,000 taxpayers in the whole school district. You know how many there is roughly?
No, I don't know exactly.
To lower theirs a penny, but our users would be raised a dime.
I did some numbers,
Is it okay?
and roughly it's gonna cost us, our average is, savings would be at the school district around $15,000 a year. So at that savings, that comes out to around 3 cents a thousand per taxpayer.
3
So
cents
you
a
can
thousand.
put, you can put the numbers to that.
So the average household would be $3-4 a year, roughly. Okay.
If it's a $100,000 house, yeah.
Yeah, 100 to 125,000 in that area. We're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and see how many customers we've got and how many, divide that into that 15,000 or so, and see where that comes. Okay. I understand your point of view, and you've got not problem there, we understand. Yeah.
I just have one comment. I work for the town here, and I'm involved with sewer and water a little bit, and I know this is a public hearing of sorts, but I don't see a lot of people here from the Ridge Road or on the other town districts. And I know it's a public hearing, it's advertised in the paper, but I think an effort should be made that these people be notified of exactly the impact that this is gonna have on them. Because if this goes through, you're gonna hear the screaming after the fact.
You're absolutely correct.
Well, you know, Mickey, we can run those numbers and see exactly what that would mean to everyone. I mean, and we plan on doing that.
I think it's very important that they know how it's gonna impact them.
You're correct.
And we already know what our town customers are saying already. There were a lot of comments last year, the rates went up. We know that. We know it.
I have a question. Does the school district get any type of reimbursement for these water expenses from the state?
I mean, we receive state aid, but specifically because of water,
I noticed you mentioned in here that a portion of the expenditures to do the construction were reimbursed, but the expenses that are associated with providing that water and sewer, is that reimbursable at all?
Not as utility costs per se, no. I mean, we do get general state aid, which can be
Right.
applied toward anything, but nothing specifically toward
There
water or sewer.
is a line, building aid, isn't there, on the state aid? There's building aid.
Correct.
Would water and sewer come under building aid?
Only if you were gonna do like we did with the
Yeah,
project.
Emergency project, yes.
You know, if you had to do some infrastructure or something, you know, or, you know, put a water line or something in, or add an addition to your building, or if you had to redo your sewer line.
There is a year-to-year operating cost of that building. You get building aid.
Well, building aid is under construction, it's not.
No, I know that, I understand that question. That, on your yearly, year-to-year, maintenance of your building, maintenance, which would include utilities, is called building aid. Do you get building aid?
Yes, we get building aid.
Yes. And is that included?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I would have to look that up there.
Okay.
My understanding is the building aid applies to capital
I've been on
projects.
school boards for 15 years, and I always heard about building aid. And I didn't know if it included yearly maintenance.
No. That's new construction, when you're actually adding on or renovating or.
Up to 2 years ago, the state did allow us minor maintenance aid of $15,000 a year, that if we did have some infrastructure or something inside the building that we could use, and we had to use that each year. But as of 2 years ago, that was taken away.
I mean, there's, school aid fund, there's a long list of aids. And one of them is textbooks aid and building aids. I'm just wondering if that building aid included the normal upkeep and utilities of that building.
I'll check that for you, but I don't believe so.
Please get back to me on that. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Does any board member have any questions? If nothing else, I need a motion to, if there's nobody else, second call. Yes.
Will that affect bringing the water out into other areas of the town if this rate goes up?
Well, it could, okay? To the point that anytime anybody wants to come to the area to build, especially commercial users, they always ask what the water rates are, okay? And I would assume that anybody in the future would also ask that question. And sometimes they judge their project upon what it was going to cost them to run it. It's water and sewer. So yes, it could very well determine whether somebody moved to the area or not. High water rates could keep somebody away. I'm not saying they would, but it could. Okay, we understand that.
Because I know in different districts, the water quality is not all that great.
Yes.
And there would be interest in getting water,
Yes.
but the rates are too high.
Yes, they're already too high. We know that. There is a study going on, an ongoing study, I should say. We've been awarded a grant, the two villages and the town, to do a water study to see what would be more feasible. If there's something that would work better than what we already have, okay? That study's been in the mix here for a year or more, and we haven't got no results yet, and really well started it. Mickey might be able to address that a little bit. We're hopeful in next year.
Well, it's a grant to study the infrastructure between the two villages and the town. It's basically a third party that's gonna look at what Champlain has, Rouse's Point has, and what the town has, and what the best avenue would be to approach the different,
For future growth and
right,
everything.
for future growth and
Water
whatever.
rates, sewer rates and everything, okay?
But
That's down the road. It's been approved, but the wheels of government move awful slowly.
Well, I guess at this point, I'd just like to make one comment. We get the figures of all of water and sewer rates for all of the villages and cities in New York State. And the rates that you pay here are very favorable. The water rates are lower than average, and wastewater rates are just about average in New York State. I've got all the numbers, and if anybody wanted to see those, I would be glad to share them with them. I know people sometimes feel like, the charges are excessive, but they aren't at all, and as compared to the other water producers in New York State, those are very good rates, and the outside and town rates are very comparable also. They're not amongst the highest in the state, as some people think.
I tend to somewhat disagree with my good friend here.
I'll show you the number.
I understand. I've been to the county supervisors meetings and we discuss water rates once in a while. And the rate that we already pay, the town, when we buy water is quite high compared to Blasford and Bateman Town, a lot of districts close by. Statewide average, I do not have, Jeff. I can't give you those.
It's not an average, it has every
Yeah.
single water producer and every wastewater plant in New York State. And, we are not anywhere near the top.
Hope you never get there.
We don't want to.
Mr. Gold?
On the Ridge Road,
Yes.
is it just water that's furnished up there or water and sewage?
Ridge Road, there's two different districts on Ridge Road. There's one at the very beginning of Ridge Road, if I'm correct, Julie may know.
Was that the Four Corners by the light?
Yes.
Okay.
Then when
There's
there's
a
what's called-
landfill.
there's a
Landfill
landfill.
district is only water.
there's
That's the
water-
residents up on up on Ridge Road.
Everybody from that corner by Gooley's store to turn, where you turn to go to the dump, that's only water?
No.
No. There is not water, there's water, the water line goes up. The telephone company has it.
It's a pumping station. right?
From there, if I'm correct now, from there up to the top of the hill, those people there do not have water. A transmission line goes by. When he gets to the top of the hill up there, there's 17 customers from the top of the hill down the grade, so to speak, to the Castine Road. It was a district that was formed because of Wyatt, mostly Wyatt, paid for that line. And the upkeep of it for 5 years, I believe. There's 17 customers from the top of that hill down to the corner, and including the Castine Road. Okay? From the top of the hill, I don't know who lives up there, I can't think of their name, down to the underpass. The line goes by, it's a transmission line, there's nobody hooked onto it there. So there is actually two districts on the Ridge Road District and Landfill District.
Tell you one thing, you town people sure got a lot of districts. That fur plant on the road, what's their situation there? Is that water and sewage for the village or the town?
The town. It's water and sewer.
Do they dump any of that alleged cleaning they do of hides or anything else in our sewer system?
We monitor that very closely. If
Who
something
monitors
isn't
it?
right at the wastewater plant.
The village?
Yes, we do.
But the town is furnishing to them. Is that right?
They are a town customer, yes. The town contract with the village, the village takes care of all the water testing, for instance, and water quality controls. We don't have that. That's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of the people that we buy it from. Am I correct, Jeff?
That's correct.
Okay. Andy?
Mr. Barkle, hopefully, we're gonna have development come here. Will your decisions tonight set the precedence for nobody in the future, big businesses asking for annexation? Will you, by saying no, or not, I'm not making a decision for you, but I'm saying, if you decide not to, allow the school district, as big as a customer as we are, and we have somebody come in here outside of the village or town, will a precedence be set as far as allowing annexation to them? Could it be? Let me leave that open. Could it be? And if there's a big company coming in, will the village be able to supply that amount of water?
I don't know about their capacity.
Right,
But I understand they're under capacity now.
Oh, yeah, we have plenty of capacity. I mean, it depends how big of something you're talking about. Something that would use 1 million gallons a day, that would press us. But that's a very large user. We have excess capacity, yes we do.
And there is also some low points in the village where there's limited pressure.
Yeah, it's very difficult to deal with that pressure because you have some very low parts, you have some very high parts. Unfortunately, it's the same pressure in all the system. If you increase the pressure anywhere in the system, you're going to have high pressure in the low parts. You're going to have 100 psi, and then somewhere else you'll be nice. You'll have 50, and someone else will be 30. It's just the way that the village is laid out. It's all hills, and that's the nature of our system.
I guess in closing, I would say, rather than not altering us the ability to annex with you, would probably be paint a better picture for larger corporations coming in, knowing that both parties are willing to work with the district. Thank you.
Anyone else?
How much water does the school use a day?
Jim, you answer that, I can't. They use $35,000 a year.
Between 35 and 40,000.
40,000.
It's roughly right around 2,000 gallons a day, give or take, depending on how thirsty you get there. Depending on what we do with the pool. Right now, we're using quite a bit because our Dectron unit is down and we're using water, goes through our hot water tank, and we're heating the pool that way rather than recirculating it. So the last few months, our water is
But obviously from 2006 to 2007 school year, you decreased a slight usage anyways. Anybody else? We'll cut it short. Any board member? Village board member? Bill, is that okay?
No.
If not, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank
We
you.
have 90 days according to the petition. We will be hearing from this within 90 days.
Thanks, everybody.